Welcome.
We should have had at least one trick-or-treater by now. Something's up.
Oh no. I hibernated through Halloween, Teddy.
What do I do?
That's it. Look, Teddy. Halloween the movie had a sequel. Why not the holiday? November 15th will now be Halloween Part 2. There, all set. Oh, but wait, I don't have a scary game to play. And if it's halfway through November, all the stores are only going to have Thanksgiving games.
What about Grandpa Corn?
Grandpa Corn Miser, can you bring me a scary Halloween game to play?
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's Grandpa Corn Miser pulling up.
I brought you a whole harvest bushel of games this time. Some of my favorites to play while I'm enjoying a beautiful autumn day in the cornfield. Oh, they'll really shock your husk.
Thanks, Grandpa. Haunted Halloween 85, 86, and 87, huh? Let's give them a shot, please. The Haunted Halloween Trilogy began in October 2015 with the release of Haunted Halloween 85 on NES carts at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. An initial run of just 30 cartridges were produced, but demand grew and additional physical copies were made. First, 50 copies of the red variant, which were sold at Retro GameCon 2016. Then, gray and slime green, as well as an orange Famicom version, which were all sold on the Retrotainment website. Green copies are still in stock at Retrotainment's online store for $60, so don't pay $600 on eBay like this guy's asking. Unlike the box version right here, the Retro GameCon version comes in this nice, sturdy clamshell case, which is highly preferable to the original cardboard box. I mean, think about how cool it would have been if every single NES release came packaged like this. Alas, the box version is still pretty nice with the green cartridge right here, and also the instruction manual, which you don't get in the clamshell version. This is pretty cool. You got lore, you got controls, you got information on your health, you've got more lore, you've got enemy bios, everything you need in an instruction manual, even a notes section, which you can use for anything. You can put down strategies against various enemies, paths through different levels. Hey, even a shopping list would be good here. What the heck did I come here for? Oh! I knew this would come in handy. Grape nuts.
Don't waste another minute on your crying. We're nowhere near the end. The best is ready to begin. Oh, as long as we got each other, we got the world spinning right in our hands, baby, you and me. We gotta be the luckiest dreamers who never quit dreaming. As long as we keep
All 3 games take place in the town of Possum Hollow, a typical suburban neighborhood in a valley below haunted Harry Dunmore's corn farm. On the morning of Halloween 1985, Donnie Johnstown wakes up late to find that he's missed the bus. Knowing that he'll be grounded from attending the Halloween dance with his main squeeze Tammy if he doesn't find a way to slip into class without being noticed, he rushes out the front door of his house and zips across town. When he arrives at Possum Hollow Elementary, however, he finds that the shul has been trashed and all of his friends have been zombified. It doesn't take long until those old friends are shambling towards Donnie with an appetite for his flesh. And all throughout level 1, you're fighting wave after wave of undead classmates and ghosts, while trying to navigate a crumbling shul building that concludes with a fight against a haunted Dewey Decimal System. Both the combat and platforming aren't too bad on the introductory level, but the coming difficulty looms visibly on the horizon. After escaping, Donnie decides to try getting as far from the shul as possible. His path takes him to the edge of a forest as the sun sets and a simple but beautiful dusk scene casts the shadows of distant trees and a brand new pain-in-the-ass enemy, dive-bombing birds called killer crows. Not killer cross, killer crows, which are best dealt with by employing Donnie's super uppercut attack, really the only spatial attack Donnie has. If you're not using the uppercut, you're pretty much squaring up and punching dudes right in the nose. Level 2 has you working your way through the forest and to the 2600 Cruise Treehouse, obviously a reference to the Atari 2600, where the platforming picks up just a bit of intensity, but it's nothing an experienced gamer should struggle with. Beyond the treehouse is a beautiful starlit pumpkin patch, littered with poisoned pumpkins that jump when Donnie jumps. To avoid taking damage from these guys, you just have to make sure to do a slight hop to set them off, and then high jump over top of them as they're falling back down to the ground. Then it's down under, through a pretty bland cave area, before resurfacing to fight a Bigfoot Sasquatch. He doesn't put up too much of a fight. If only all the bosses were so easy. Next, Donnie makes his way to the local mall where he hopes to find help, but inside it's more of the same shit. Zombies, decimated architecture, and a rather annoying boss fight with killer crows, and a bunch of microscopic birds pecking at you. The mall level does have the atmosphere going for it though. You have the neon allure of the arcade, a fantastic cinema corridor and concessions area, and a really cool theater area where Donnie turns into a silhouette as he crosses in front of the big screen. Despite a lackluster boss fight, the mall is one of my favorite areas in this game. Level 4 takes you platforming through a cornfield and multiple silos to a showdown with 2 scarecrows. The scene here with the blood red moon is pretty badass, but the boss fight is a son of a gun, as you're not only tasked with defeating the 2 main enemies, but also killer crows that dive bomb you without mercy. And if you happen to run out of lives, or serum sodas as they're called in the haunted Halloween games, you get a game over and have to play through the entire level again to get another crack at the boss. If you take damage along the way, the game does you the nicety of providing pieces of candy corn. They restore 1 hue of color to Donnie's skin, and candy bars that fully replenish health. Take too many hits though, and Donnie's skin goes dark green and he turns into a zombie. When you finally make it past the scarecrows, you stop back home and find a message scrawled on your bedroom wall. Someone's waiting for you in the cemetery. So it's off down the street, through the park, down into the sewer where you fight the werewolf. Another fairly simple boss fight, quite unlike the one that follows. The last stage has Donnie doing some intense platforming through the cemetery and a series of underground tunnels that lead to haunted Harry Dunmore's corn farm. Harry is another son of a gun, but once you figure out the pattern, he's not so bad. Just avoid the grabby hands down in Harry's hole 4 times and get ready to move to the right when he drops down with his pitchfork. Then rock his ass with 2 quick super uppercuts, rinse and repeat. Once Haunted Harry is defeated, Donnie and Tammy are reunited, as she tells him that she got to shul just before he did, avoiding zombification. Since then, she's been following behind Donnie all day trying to catch up with him, fighting through evil hordes herself while chasing Donnie down. And with things returned to normal and the spell broken, they return to Donnie's house yet again to play some video games. Well, Halloween Part 2 is well underway and still no trick-or-treaters. Part 2. But, you know what? I probably just didn't hear them over the game volume. Let me go check. Now I bet there's a whole gang of trick-or-treaters Part 2 waiting for Halloween Part 2 candy out here. Let's see what we got. Haunted Halloween 86, The Curse of Passum Hollow, was released in 2016, just a year after its predecessor, and like Haunted Halloween 85, 86 was also put out on both NES and Famicom cartridges. Here's my NES copy. Unlike the Famicom version, you get a box and a manual with this one. Once again, you've got lore, you've got controls, you've got enemies, and even that coveted notes section. The cart itself is a nice Halloween-y orange. But the box art presentation, well, strays a little bit from the old-fashioned NES vibe, but still not too bad. And where 85 did most of its storytelling using scrolling text, 86 immediately departs from that format with an opening interactive cutscene of sorts, as Donnie and Tammy run into a group of their friends who are about to start trick-or-treating. Donnie and Tammy razz them about their lame costumes, and then run into a mysterious fellow named La Poppin, who's hanging out in a dumpster on the edge of town. And for a split of his Halloween candy, La Poppin dares Donnie and Tammy to go investigate the old farmhouse where Haunted Harry used to live, claiming that he's been hearing sounds emanating from the foreboding monument to last year's disaster. As they make their way to the house on the hill, they stumble upon a piece of a map, which opens a menu allowing the player to choose an upgrade power. As you can see, the sequel has a little more on tap than a jab and uppercut. And anytime I'm given the option, I tend to go with a double jump before anything else. Upon entering the old house, Donnie and Tammy fall through the floor into Haunted Harry's dungeon, encountering bone shredders, skeletons who can throw bones, and irradiated rats. Luckily, you can stay far from both of them and use another new attack, the ability to pick up and toss objects, including adult zombie heads, which can be knocked off with the super uppercut. Doing so happens to be the only way to kill adult zombies in this game. Progressing through the bowels of the farmhouse, you also run into kid zombies that can be killed the old-fashioned way. Eventually, you find the Trenchcoat Man, who tells you that the piece of map you found is capable of unlocking incredible powers, but the owner of the house also wants those map pieces for himself. So be careful, especially in the area beyond, where the Substance Beast enemy type awaits in the green goop that's collected on the cave floor. Further still in the abandoned mines, you have to watch out for creepy claws that reach up from the ground below and seem to have no weakness except complete avoidance. The first stage boss is a somewhat tricky rock golem who will follow you from one track to another as minecarts harass you. The trick is to jump up and punch him, then drop down to a lower track just before he reaches the left side of the screen. Each time you defeat a boss, you also get another piece of the map and a chance to pick up a new power. We didn't have any auto-scrolling levels in the first game, but we got them in part 2. You'll be glad you can actually switch characters at will in Haunted Halloween 86. What? Thought Tammy was just along for the ride? Hell no! She handled herself quite well off-screen last year, but this time around, she gets to jump in the mix and throw down for real. Until you meet a giant tentacle monster. Donnie and Tammy send boxes raining down on his noodly ass and move on to the steel mill level. The mill is kind of blah. I've never liked the industrial levels in games, and this is no different. Lots of platforming and molten metal until you fight a haunted vat that shoots fireballs while lava versions of the Substance Beast spawn and try to snatch you up. Trick or treat! Huh. Hello? Lawyer. Then it's another auto-scrolling train level, with the addition of skeleton ghosts and killer crows. Nothing too remarkable, but the background with the cityscape is nice. The train ride continues through a tunnel with poisoned pumpkins that make it a little more difficult to keep up your pace, but it's not impossible. And after a quick jaunt through the inside of the train, which is actually a treat to look at, you exit and fight a beefed-up conductor. He's one of those bosses that are really easy to take out once you figure out all you need to do is stay in one place and spam the punch button. The Outskirts level is next, and maybe my favorite in the game. If you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, it has the look of any strip mall you probably visited at the time. Also reminiscent of the setting of the game Blood Warsh. You've got a dojo, video store, pizza shop, and electronics store you get to fight through. The only thing missing is peepaws. And on the outer outskirts, a striking autumnal night scene with full moon, shadowy blue hues, and fall leaves hanging on the trees and blowing in the wind. Unfortunately, The boss fight at the end of this level is perhaps the most bullshit one in the entire series. A complete crock of shit. This bird pissed me off so much I had to walk away and come back to the game multiple times. But finally putting this guy in his cage was quite a satisfying experience. And then Donnie and Tammy venture through Possum Hollow's downtown area to the town hall building for a showdown with the ghostly janitor. Complete cupcakes compared to what lies ahead. The caves that lead to the farmhouse. If the giant bird was the biggest pain in the ass out of all the boss fights, this cave is the most frustrating platforming section you'll find across any of the 3 Haunted Halloween games. Look at this. You have to jump from these moving platforms that look like green leaves. You can't see shit, and if you don't land just right, you fall to your death. But I guess it's worth it because once you make it back to ground level, you can collect a serum soda for an extra life. Exiting the screen to the left takes you back to the cave entrance where you repeat this as many times as you want before heading to the farmhouse for the final fight with Haunted Harry. I think the fight here is a bit tougher than the one at the end of the first game, but it's similar. Move out of the way when he drops down from above, attack, jump over him when he does his slide attack, and watch out for pitchforks if he summons them from the ceiling stash. Defeat Harry, and the game ends with Donnie and Tammy in the town archives, eating the candy promised to them by Le Papin when they happen upon a shocking discovery. The coal mines below Harry's corn farm could very well have been a burial site. Not only that, but the very day after Harry took over ownership of his farm, all the other farms around town died overnight. Before the credits roll, Donnie says that since last Halloween, he's felt like something is lurking. Then, a pair of green slitted eyes are seen watching from the shadows.
No, god Trick or Treaters Part 2. What the shit? Maybe Grombles can help. Grombles, you know everything. Where are all the trick-or-treaters Part 2?
Alright, let's carve into the third and final game in the Haunted Halloween trilogy so far. Haunted Halloween 87. Here is the first pressing edition from the Retrotainment Kickstarter. Now, not to trash it, but this is my least favorite box art in the series. It's not awful, but it just doesn't maintain that old school vibe. It's got nice colors and depicts an action-packed scene, but it feels way too modern. Definitely when compared to the first game. And even up against the second game, it feels a little out of place. The reverse side is fine with the same style of framed screenshots and flat background colors, but the cover just doesn't work for me, brother. I much prefer the box art for the standard edition that's currently in stock at the Retrotainment online store, though I haven't picked that one up yet. The cartridge is a haunting shade of translucent purple, and the manual, well, that's laid out like the other ones. Let's see how it stacks up to its older brothers. Full transparency, this is the only one of the 3 games here that I captured directly from my NES. I played 85 and 86 on my PC via Steam, but I decided to go with the real deal for the grand finale. This one definitely has the coolest title screen out of the bunch, depicting an animated scene featuring a cornfield, behind which sits a dimly lit carnival in front of an industrial plant. Probably a sign of some of the places you can expect to visit throughout the game. Before you begin, you're given the option to choose your difficulty. If you're a baby and you never played video games before, start with Tourist. Elsewise, be a man and go with normal for a pleasantly challenging experience. And if you're super hardcore, go with hard. The opening segment is basically a tutorial set at the county fair. An annoying-looking carnival barker kid who turns out to be the dumpster-diving La Poppin from Haunted Halloween 86 yaps at you to perform various moves that you'll be familiar with if you played the series before. For newbies, I can see how this would be a nice way to ease into the action. Even if you're a veteran, there are a few new moves to learn though, such as block and wall jump. This is also an opportunity to check out the inventory menu, where you can see potions and spells, which you earn after defeating bosses, similar to how map pieces allowed you to choose upgrades in 86, and items that can be earned by clearing rooms of enemies and sometimes from random drops. After leaving the county fair, Donnie and Tammy have a quick run-in with the town witch and flee to a tractor that takes them to a barn where the witch can be seen pondering her cauldron. Exiting stage right takes you back outside and into your first side-scrolling shoot-'em-up section, where you have to fly on a broom and evade killer crows, and a new enemy called the Portlygeist. Donnie and Tammy can only take one hit each in the flying sections, so it's important to lock in and be nimble. Upon clearing the broom chase, the Trenchcoat Man from the last game appears and combines a new map that he's found with the map you pieced together over the course of Haunted Halloween 86. He also gives you a set of runes, telling you to place one at each of 9 locations you're tasked with driving evil spirits from around Possum Hollow. And this brings up a new convention for the series, a bit of choice when it comes to the order you'd like to tackle the levels in. The first hub allows you to choose between the power station, water treatment plant, and the telecom building. I decided to simply go first come first served order and head to the power station. It's got some nice vibes going, with a soft purple sky and rain that not only comes down outside, but can be seen running down the windows from inside the power station. This is also the first time you have to fight a series newcomer known as the Standard Ghost, and also the Groundskeeper. Neither one of them are too tough. And the first boss fight of the game, if you follow my path, is pretty underwhelming, to be honest. It's just a big electricity generator of some kind. Doesn't really fit the bill for spooky scary in my personal opinion. The water treatment center shines during the outdoor parts. I really like the color of the sky, which is also the color of the water being treated. Or is it just the reflection of the sky? I don't know. Either way, the green is badass and reminds me of the green Tootsie Roll. The inside of the treatment center, though, basically a sewer level, which is horse shit. Also, the water in here is green, so I guess it wasn't just the sky casting a reflection. Makes me wonder what's going on in Possum Hollow. Why is there so much toxic sludge? Are the monsters all doing pee and poop in the town's water supply? In any event, the boss fight here is a giant squid who happens to be one of the easier boss fights in the series.
A note. Fine. No one else likes Halloween Part 2? I'll just celebrate by myself! Now I'm really ready for Halloween Part 2.
The telecom building stage is next, and it's littered with classic ghosts and coat guys who have a spread attack. It's a pretty forgettable area. A bit of platforming when you're outdoors will lead you to various entrances into the building itself, then back outside for more platforming, then back inside again. There's a big ass cell phone, which is cool.
I'm a big giant cell phone, I'm really cool. Dial my numbers, you can call who you want.
No actual boss fights in this level though, just an onslaught of enemies that spawn from both sides of the screen. Survive enough waves of bad guys and you move on to the broom ride stage that takes you to the next hub, which is called the docks. The first area you can enter from the docks is called Hunka Junk, which is a good old junkyard. The most difficult part of this area is an auto-scrolling platforming challenge where you have to jump from giant hanging magnets across gaps while being bothered by bat-taculas. No, not Scott Bakula's, bat-taculas. Then we return to an actual distinct boss fight against a big pile of garbage. This one wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't a grabby claw that reaches down from overhead and tries to snatch you up the whole time. If you get caught, it drops you down into the monster's mouth and you take a hit. Imagine one of the Fraggles trying to beat up Marjorie Trash Heap while Doozers operate a grabby claw from above. That's what this is. There's also a spiky pit at the bottom of the fight arena which can fuck you up. Anyway, if you can dodge the zombie heads that the monster spits at you and manage to stay away from the metal claw, you destroy the trash pile's eyes and mouth and you're out of there and on to WRPH, the radio station. Unfortunately, there's not much radio station to this level. I would have enjoyed more time indoors on this one, recording studios, offices, and so on, but you're really in and out of the WRPH building pretty quickly, then back outside to climb the radio tower. Once you get to the top, it's a broom-based boss fight against a green demon who only gives you a few moments to attack before he disappears into the background, where you can see him flying with his lackeys in an orbit that eventually brings him and his dudes back to the right side of the screen. It's not that difficult, just a bit tedious, as you have to wait so long in between your chances to actually damage him. Green Hollow Prison comes next. There's a nice bit of bullshitty platforming to do on the outside of the prison before you can ascend to the roof and inside a drum tower where there's a ghost, haunted shackles, and jellyfish? Why? This is probably the most random enemy you'll see in any of the haunted Halloween games. Why are there jellyfish in the prison? Were they prisoners here when they were alive? Maybe the warden had a jellyfish tank when the prison was still open? Feel free to create your own lore on that one. Through the prison you go, fighting an assortment of enemies as you pass empty holding cells until you reach the basketball court out in the yard. Here you go head to head with a mutant mole man. I think someone drank too much of that green Possum Hollow shit water. Makes the stuff in Flint look like Fiji. But yeah, this guy sucks. Luckily, I found a strategy that works pretty well. For his first phase, let him swipe at you, then jump over his head and do your ground pound attack. After a few hits, he disappears underground and reemerges from below. Before he pops up, you'll see the ground moving where he's about to appear. Then he turns into a ball and rolls at you from either the ground or the air. Either way, punch him when he gets close. Do this several times and he goes into a bouncing ball attack. Find the right timing and stop his bounce with a kick or punch and repeat for a few rounds. Then it's a broom zoom over to Spring Hill Hub. First up is No Mercy Hospital. Now you have to deal with creepos. These guys don't look like much, but when you get close, they spring up in height, and you have to ground pound close to them repeatedly to cut them down to size until they're squashed. The hospital is made up of mostly typical corridors and elevator shafts, but the boss fight here is pretty fun. An evil, ghostly doctor will grab either Donnie or Tammy and place them on a stretcher where he begins to perform some sort of damaging procedure, maybe injecting them with Possum Hollow shit water. Then the camera pans back to the opposite side of the room, where you'll take control of the free character, pass behind the x-ray screen, and hopefully free your friend before the doctor's able to inflict damage. It's an easy fight, but it's an interesting novelty in the game.
Hi, it's Halloween. Part 2, is that right? Oh, you got Eddie? If so, within what time? Is it just chocolate, Milky Way, and M&M's? Or the type that's like a mixed bag with Shock Tots and Sour Patch Kids?
I'd rather spend Halloweens 1 through 10 by myself than deal with those guys.
Now, how about a trip to Carnage Museum? That's where you're going next. Here you'll see mesmerizing exhibits like vacuum cleaners and a broken grandfather clock. They also have some big dino bones.
Which is nice.
There's an annoying green goblin boss fight at the end. No, not that one. He tosses extremely unripe pumpkins down at you, which then have to be picked up and tossed back at him. Not so bad if you didn't have a detachable foot that tries to stomp you, and a detachable hand that tries to yoink your ass up and squeeze the life out of you as it takes you back down multiple levels. Even if the hand doesn't kill you, it puts a real turd in your lasagna by forcing you to work your way back to the top platform while being chased by ghosts and the continued barrage of his phantom limbs. Don't lose hope though, you can do it. And when you do, you're going to the local trailer park. Forest Hills Mobile Home Park is populated by just about every enemy the game has to offer, even the ever-mysterious ghostly jellyfish. The trailer park is just one of the locations you'll visit in this stage though. There's also a torn-up football field, a river of Possum Hollow shit water, and finally a drive-in movie, where it's another survive the waves of enemies ending to the level. Boring. But then, it's on to one of the final broom rides of the game. And I haven't really talked about the power-ups because honestly, I don't feel like I bothered with them all that much. However, if there's one definitely worth having, it's the Turbo Apples enhancement, which gives you infinite apples to toss. This makes broom sections much easier, and since you only have 2 hits during flight, keeping those apples flying without having to worry about ammo means you also really don't have to worry about dodging enemies. You can just kill their asses. So invest in that one early on. It will absolutely make this last broomer shooter part of the game more manageable. I feel like some of the locales in this game were a bit underwhelming, but it does a great job of closing strong. I enjoy the blue-green coloring of the trees in the final flying course, and the cursed forest after the broom ride looks great, with lots of purple lighting and the moon set against a haunting dark blue sky that just peeks through the black background as the witch presides over the whole affair. Continuing the strong closing, there's an apple orchard, a cemetery, and finally back to the location that means the most of this game, Haunted Harry Dunmore's cornfield, on his self-driving tractor that rolls on through the endless stalks as the struggle unfolds. This penultimate fight is challenging, but not in a way that makes you want to eat an ear of corn the long way. The witch flies back and forth dropping little sprinkles that will cause your controls to become reversed if they touch you. If you can avoid those, taking care of Harry isn't so tough. Keep moving so he doesn't hit you when he attacks from above, then do the dash attack so you land behind him and don't get hit by his follow-up attack, which is a dash attack of his own. It's not until he takes the proverbial cob up the butt that you fly through the corn to the main event against the witch herself. With the moon lighting the scene, the old hag zips back and forth across the screen, dropping yet more of her sprinkles, but now with the added bonus of increasing the aggressiveness of the poisoned pumpkins if they're touched by the witch's magic. Occasionally, the witch will also cast a spell that causes the sky to darken and rain down acid, or perhaps more Possum Hollow shit water. The name of the game in this encounter is just avoiding all damage and using the pumpkins to deal damage to the witch. Much easier to do if you can grab up those pumpkins and toss them her way before they have a chance to be powered up with the witch sprinkles. And when that witch is at last put out to pasture, it seems the curse on Possum Hollow is finally lifted for good. Perhaps Donnie, Tammy, and all the good folks of Possum Hollow can enjoy Halloween '88 in peace. Perhaps.
Happy Halloween Part 2!
Well, who are you supposed to be, little guy? You're scary, aren't you? Here, have some nice Halloween Part 2 candy. Oh, no.
To find out what happens next, and for a brand new review, click here!
We gonna go viral with this one.